Chapter 5. Thursday noon. As soon as Doreen finished lunch, she decided to finish scrubbing the living room. So, rather than sorting coats, she returned to the living room, wiped down all the walls, removed everything off the mantel, then finished with a vacuum and a mop of the floor. Now she had everything done except for the hall half bath, the kitchen, hall closet, and the office corner. But she'd more or less done that alcove when Scott from Christie's had been here with Agatha, his art expert, and John, his books expert. She walked to the office alcove and saw nothing more to do there except the window, the walls, and the floor. Once she did that, she was down to just the kitchen, the half bath, hall closet, and the garage. It was hard to be upset with her day's work when she'd done a ton already. On that note, she remembered the basement. Groaning, she still had all of that to sort too. But she wasn't sure which way she wanted to go. Her energy was waning. She walked to the stairs, turned the light on, and headed down to the basement. With a critical eye, she examined what was left on the furniture side and thought about 4 trips would get it all up to the garage. Then she walked to the smaller area, the cold room, and frowned. Quite a bit of stuff remained on the shelves. Most of it, she didn't think she would keep. She would need more boxes though. Loading up her arms, she took whatever she could find in the furniture room. Most of these pieces were missing legs. She also found leaves to a dining room table, yet she wasn't sure she still had the table. It took her 5 trips, leaving a dump run pile at the big garage door, each time bringing an empty box back down with her. Then, with the furniture side done, she walked to the other side and packed up what she could. She would be a couple boxes short. She took these full boxes to the garage, more trash. Then grabbed some big garbage bags for the rest. By the time the next hour had passed, she was beyond exhausted, but had cleared out both sides of her basement. But then she was also euphoric, because she had done an incredible amount of work. She needed 1 more hour in order to get all this cleaned up, but she would need coffee before she did that. She went upstairs from the basement to the kitchen, put on coffee, dragged a broom and a dustpan along with her cleaning supplies and the vacuum, then did a full sweep and vacuum combination of the basement's shelves, doors, stairs, and floors. After that, she wiped down the windows and the walls, and then mopped the concrete floors. As she dragged her supplies upstairs, she realized she'd forgotten to grab a cup of coffee. But that little pot had been sitting there for a full hour. She groaned. Way to waste good coffee. Still, she'd be happy to have it. Besides, she wouldn't let it go to waste. No way she would ruin something like that. And now the downstairs was done too. She didn't want to think about the garage yet. She just moved, hauled, and dumped everything she possibly could in there. Plus, she still had the kitchen to do. With any luck though, that could wait until tomorrow. She put away her cleaning supplies and poured herself a cup of coffee. Then she checked on the living room window to see if the media was still outside. Of course they all were. But as she watched, she saw a young man trying to get through the crowd, carrying a huge box in his arms. He reached her driveway, ignoring everybody behind him. Doreen watched as the media took shot after shot as the kid came up her front steps. She opened the door to find already 3 other boxes were here. He dropped that 4th box on top and grinned at her. "Hi," he said. "I'm Nathan. And these are all for you. Good riddance." "What?" "Wait," she said as he raced down the steps. "Hang on." He turned and replied, "I want to get out of here before they take any more photos." "But what are all these things?" "They're from my great-uncle. You should be expecting them. He's in hospice but wanted to get them out before he died, and his files became part of his estate." And with that, Nathan bolted. She moved the boxes, groaning at their heavy weight. She stacked them up just inside the front door. And then it clicked who his great-uncle was, Bridgman Solomon, the journalist. She wanted to cry out in joy, but at the same time, she expected a single case file on Penny's father and her family. Not boxes and boxes. With everything inside, the front door once again secured but still hiding from the bare front windows, she headed into the back of the house and switched over the laundry. She looked at the still damp curtains and wondered if she could just rehang them. Would the weight help take out the wrinkles? She didn't think she had an iron. And she didn't know how to iron anyway. Knowing her, she would burn them. Taking a chance, she walked back into the living room and used the kitchen step stool to rehang the curtains. With that, she could block out the media. Satisfied, she pulled them together with a whoosh and walked back into the kitchen. This time, she would sit and have her coffee no matter what. But her phone rang as soon as she sat down. She answered it with a groan. "Hi, Mac." Silence. Okay, she cried out. "It's been a really busy day." "I thought you would take it easy today," he said in a stern voice. "I started cleaning, remember? Is that why you've been busy?" She heard the relief in his voice and realized he was afraid she had gotten into another case or was racing around terrorizing people again. "Yes, I've done the entire upstairs, basement, and most of the main floor. I only have the kitchen left," she said triumphantly. "Everything else has been emptied, cleaned, dusted, and washed, even the curtains. I dumped the stuff that isn't mine in the garage to sort later." "Wow." He was silent for a moment before adding, "I'm shocked. But I don't know why. You've already proven you can make incredible progress in a short time." "Well, I don't know about that," she said, "but this was something I needed to do for a long time." "Yeah, but go easy on yourself. You have been there 6-8 weeks maybe? It's hardly like you've had time to do any major spring cleaning." "I know," she said. "And considering how full this house was when I first moved in, it's looking mighty empty." "Did you take everything off the walls too?" "Yes. Pictures, all the kitschy stuff, everything. It's all in the garage. Even the upstairs bathroom was full of all kinds of stuff. Both bathrooms, actually." "Right. I forgot you had a second bathroom up there too." "Yes, and thankfully the tiny guest bath on the first floor wasn't stocked. So I went right to wiping down the walls and cleaning the floor. Now the whole house looks cleaner, more usable," she said. "Oh, and the bed up there in the spare room really needs to go to the dump, but then I'm sure a bunch of stuff in the garage can join it too. I found a lot of broken pieces of furniture downstairs in the basement, plus leaves from a table. If they don't match anything at this point, I'm hoping maybe a dump run will clean out the rest of it." "I think that's a great idea," he said in all seriousness. "You've done a fine job there. I also found some holes and damaged walls. Some scraped paint, it looks like. I don't know really. It's not drywall down in the basement, but the paneling looks damaged. But then it's old paneling, so I'm not sure if it's real wood or not." "It's real wood," he said. She felt like he was smiling as he spoke. Back then, they didn't know how to fake it like we do today. She laughed. "So, outside of that, did you have a reason for calling?" "Yes, one of my men drove past your house today and said it's still a zoo. He thought he saw a kid trying to get through to you, but wasn't sure what was going on." "Oh, that's okay," she said. "And the kid got through?" When she didn't volunteer any more information, he asked in a suspiciously neutral voice, "What kid was that?" "Oh, just a great-nephew of some guy who's gone from Rosemore to a hospice." "Oh. Is that anything I should know about?" "Of course not," she said blithely. "Did you talk to Steve about his gun yet?" "No," he said quietly. "But I definitely don't want you talking to Steve. I'd be totally happy to never see that man again." "Well, that's good. Plus, as long as you're house cleaning, that's keeping you out of trouble." "It is, indeed. Not too much can go on while I'm stuck in the house, can it?" "Do you want me to shoo away the media?" "No, leave them if they haven't got anything better to do," she said, then laughed. "I feel a little sorry for them. It looks like it'll start raining, and that means they'll get soaked in a few minutes. I shouldn't be so mean, but honestly, half the time, I think I should start selling coffee. I'd make a killing." He laughed. "You know what? You probably would." Soon afterward, Mac hung up, and Doreen sat here, desperately wanting to open the delivered boxes. But she'd promised herself she would do this spring cleaning job and finish it. The least she could do was go through the 12 coats first. She took one and examined it. It was a long, fashionable forest green trench coat. It was very Avenger-like. She tried it on and laughed. "Nan," she said with a chuckle, "this is seriously gorgeous. I don't know when I'd wear it, but it fits like a charm." It had a belt, some nice buttons, and a high collar. She shoved her hands into the pockets, surprised they were so deep. Reaching the bottom, she pulled out both hands and put everything she'd retrieved on the kitchen table. Not only was there $85 and a bunch of change, but also a couple scrap pieces of notepaper, a key, and another one of those weird marble things they had found in the Ming vase. She kept forgetting to ask Nan about them. She grabbed a bowl from one of the cupboards and put everything in it. Then she searched the trench coat more thoroughly. She found a bunch of business cards in the top pocket and a folded $100 bill that made her cry in delight, rousing the animals to gather around her. Also, a handkerchief that appeared to be silk. She hadn't seen such a thing in a long time. It was embroidered in one corner, but it wasn't Nan's name. It looked like a gentleman's handkerchief. She thought about Nan's wonderful days and her incredibly exciting single life, and thought maybe this was from an admirer. With that coat thoroughly investigated, including checking the lining and the hem of the coat for anything else, she put it back on a hanger and hung it in the front closet. She didn't know if she would wear it much, but it was lovely, and it fit perfectly. She walked back to the kitchen and grabbed what looked like a heavy winter coat next. It was very lightweight though and almost reached her mid-calf. It was a down coat per the label. Did it get that cold here? She pursed her lips as she studied it. It was a smoky gray color and quite stylish. Nan really did have great taste. Doreen put it on and laughed when she realized she could zip it right up. She couldn't imagine how many times in her life she'd wear it, but if she needed it even once, maybe it was worth keeping. Hesitant, yet curious, she shoved her hands into the pockets and cried out when she came up with handfuls again. When she pulled out the items, she found yet another marble. She didn't understand where all these were coming from. She also found more little notes, business cards, and one $50 bill and one $10 bill. She dumped everything into the bowl to sort later. Then she took off the coat and went through every pocket, checking the lining and everything else to make sure she hadn't missed anything. She spied a safety pin just under the armpit section and a hole in the lining. It was not very big, but as she looked closer, she found a $100 bill tucked inside. She stared at it before pulling it out and carefully pinning the area again. She did it in such a way that it was hardly visible. After that, she put the down coat on a hanger and carried it to the front closet. While she was here, she checked the trench coat too, wondering if she'd missed a pin somewhere. But a second check of it showed no such luck. She had 10 more coats to go through. The next two also had money and change, although not of any great denomination, $15 in one, $12.46 in the other. It made her laugh. Then, in the next coat, she found a pair of beautiful heart-shaped earrings. She held them up and wondered how they ended up here. No money was in this coat, just several tissues and a couple business cards. She decided these 2 coats would go to Wendy, while the coat with the earrings would stay with her. It was a snazzy little blazer that was quite contemporary looking. It hung beautifully on her shoulders too. Her husband would probably call her gaunt, but he liked her that way. The more her collarbones, wrist bones, and rib bones showed, the better for him. She hung up the blazer, then grabbed a big garbage bag to put the coats in for Wendy, only they were so big, she ended up just stacking them instead. With that done, she had 7 more coats. One was a raincoat, and nothing else was in it other than a walnut. She didn't understand why, but then she was past wondering. Meanwhile, another coat had a lovely little stone. As she looked at it, it flashed many colors, like a raw opal. She shrugged and put in it the bowl, along with $109.41. By the time she was done, she had one more jacket she could wear every day, and the bowl was almost full of odds and ends. She was now left with 5 coats to keep and 7 to give away. She placed the coats in front of the big garage door. She would have to put them in her car, but that meant going outside and facing the media world again. She wasn't up for that yet. She also had a pile of other stuff stacked in the garage anyway. Stuff she had yet to get rid of. One day, she'd finally be rid of it all. Someday.